24 new missile towers have risen around Moscow in 2 months. Pantsir systems are appearing on rooftops, around Putin's residence, beside oil refineries, protecting electricity substations. Nearly 2,000 Ukrainian drones were detected heading toward the capital in a single week. Moscow is not projecting confidence. It is building a shield, and the drones keep coming. Moscow is building what appears to be its strongest air defense shield since the war began. New missile towers are rising around the Russian capital, rooftops are being turned into launch sites, and key government facilities are receiving extra protection. The move comes as Ukraine's drone campaign continues to push deeper into Russian territory. Around 24 new towers for the deployment of Pantsir air defense missile and gun systems have been built around Moscow over the past several months. The development was reported by researcher Geopolitics on X.
Update regarding new SHORAD positions in Russia. Number 1, Moscow. Another massive expansion of air defences is currently underway in Moscow. Over the past 2 months, 24 new Pantsir towers have been built.
He said the construction forms a new defensive ring with a radius of approximately 40 kilometers around the Russian capital. Additional towers have also been identified near several strategic locations, including an oil refinery, President Vladimir Putin's residence, and Moscow's Vnukovo airport. According to the researcher, at least 3 of the newly built towers are positioned directly beside existing earthen ramp-like embankments, suggesting they are intended to replace current air defense positions. The expansion is not limited to the city's outskirts. 3 to 4 new Pantsir SMD air defense systems have also been installed on rooftops across Moscow, while 2 additional sites for S-400 air defense systems have reportedly been established. Further analysis using a power grid map created by researcher Ruski indicates that the newest towers outside the 50-kilometer ring were specifically constructed to protect electrical substations, highlighting the growing focus on safeguarding critical infrastructure. Reports of Moscow strengthening its air defense network first emerged in March. Since then, the deployment has accelerated. By the end of May, additional Pantsir SMD systems were reported on administrative and residential buildings throughout the city. Security has also been reinforced around President Vladimir Putin's residence in Valdai. Around March 13, 8 new towers were installed to close what were described as gaps in the air defense network, while 2 more towers were constructed at Kotylovo Air Base. The rapid expansion comes amid an intensifying Ukrainian drone campaign. According to Moscow Mayor Sergei Sobyanin, 1,892 Ukrainian drones were detected heading towards the Moscow region between July 11th and July 18th. Russian authorities claim that most were intercepted by air defense units before reaching their targets. However, on July 18th, Ukrainian drones successfully struck several locations in the Moscow region. Among them was a warehouse facility in Elektrostal, which was destroyed by fire following a strike carried out by Ukraine's first center of the unmanned systems forces. As Ukraine's long-range drone attacks continue to test Russia's defenses, Moscow is responding by building an increasingly layered shield around its capital. Whether these new air defense positions can keep pace with the evolving threat remains one of the key questions in the war's rapidly changing battlefield. The war has reached one of the most unexpected targets inside Russia. Not an airbase, not an oil refinery, not military headquarters. This time, Ukraine has gone after Russia's biggest online retailer, Wildberries, setting some of its largest warehouse complexes ablaze in a series of long-range drone strikes. The attacks have triggered billions of dollars in damage, left thousands of businesses in crisis, and opened a new front in Kyiv's campaign to weaken the Russian economy. Over the past several days, Ukrainian drones struck major Wildberries logistics centers in Krasnodar and Stavropol Krai. This was not a one-off strike. Ukraine first struck Wildberries on July 18th, hitting the company's major logistics hubs in Elektrostal near Moscow and Kotovsk in the Tambov region. 4 days later, on July 22nd, it launched a second wave of attacks, targeting 2 more distribution centers in Krasnodar and Nevenomysk in Stavropol Krai. In less than a week, 4 of Wildberries' biggest logistics hubs had come under Ukrainian attack. According to various estimates, the combined damage now stands between 150 and 230 billion rubles, with tens of billions more needed to clear the wreckage and rebuild the facilities. Speaking about the attacks on the warehouses, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said that Kyiv had struck 2 logistics facilities used by Russia to supply components for drone production and navigation equipment.
Today, targets were hit near Moscow as well as in the Tambov region. These were Russian logistics facilities, including warehouses supplying equipment for the war effort, navigation systems, components used in drone production, and other supplies for the Russian military.
However, the Kremlin rejected the claims and denied accusations from Ukraine that Wildberries handles military supplies used for Russia's war effort.
It is not true. The Kyiv regime continues to strike civilian targets. That is the terrorist nature of the Kyiv regime. As for the company you mentioned, the situation is indeed difficult because of the losses suffered both by the company itself and by small and medium-sized businesses. The government is dealing with this issue.
Wildberries is no ordinary retailer. It dominates more than 40% of Russia's online retail market and, together with Ozon, controls almost 70% of the sector. Often compared with Amazon, its influence inside Russia is arguably even greater. Annual turnover exceeds 4 trillion rubles, representing more than 10% of the country's domestic trade. The impact has been immediate. Russian social media is filled with desperate appeals from small and medium-sized business owners whose merchandise was destroyed inside the warehouses. Some reportedly lost everything. One entrepreneur is said to have taken his own life after inventory purchased with a 12 million ruble loan was reduced to ashes. Adding to the anger, Wildberries had already amended its terms of service earlier this month, removing compensation for losses caused by wartime circumstances, meaning affected sellers will receive nothing. At first glance, the warehouses appear to be civilian targets. Wildberries is best known for selling clothing, household goods, toys, and electronics. But Ukraine argues there is another side to the story. The marketplace openly sells dual-use equipment, including DJI drones, tactical gear, and drone payload release systems that can be adapted for military use. Kyiv says the platform has become part of the wider supply chain supporting Russia's expanding drone capabilities. Ukraine also points to a broader reality. Moreover, much of the military-related merchandise is hidden within seemingly civilian categories, such as auto parts or electronics. For example, one can openly purchase drone bomb release mechanisms or payload retention systems, equipment designed to carry and release explosives from drones. Wildberries sells them without restriction, complete with technical specifications. Since launching its full-scale invasion in 2022, Russia has repeatedly struck Ukrainian logistics centers, postal terminals, warehouses, supermarkets, shopping centers, railway infrastructure, and power facilities. Millions of tons of humanitarian supplies, medicines, food and commercial goods have been destroyed, while entire cities have been reduced to ruins. Kyiv says its strategy has now evolved. Rather than limiting long-range strikes to oil depots and military facilities, Ukraine is increasingly targeting the economic infrastructure that keeps Russia's wartime economy functioning. Wildberries is not only a retail giant, but also one of Russia's biggest taxpayers, generating hundreds of millions of dollars each year for the state budget. The company also plays a central role in Russia's parallel import network, helping sanctioned Western goods continue reaching Russian consumers through third countries despite international restrictions. Disrupting that network could make sanctions far more painful for ordinary Russians while increasing pressure on the Kremlin. As Ukraine expands its deep strike campaign, the battlefield is no longer confined to trenches and front lines. It is increasingly reaching the economic heart of Russia itself, where every warehouse destroyed carries consequences far beyond the flames.